take Jeff Heiser 35 years ago. We all know certain personalities.
I can't believe you went back there.
No. Well, I only went back there so you can give some advice to similar strong personalities that, let's say this, as we all grow up, mature and so forth, we have a lot of strengths in our personalities that sometimes they're not in balance. They become a little too far out there. Other people look at you and, hey, these people could care less what other people say because they might have a certain strong ego that's way beyond their peers at a certain age. The 21-year-old that's really got it together, but he doesn't have enough for other people in his life yet. And he's so concerned with his own development. And that can be a great thing if he tempers it and he gets it more into balance. So I know some people, and there's a lot of military types that are recruited specifically because they've got a strong desire to achieve, to do the mission at hand. And maybe they're unidimensional where they don't have enough of the other parts of their life developed yet, which come with maturity and a little bit of age and acquired wisdom. So what would some of your advice be to some people that have it in them and they've got in their personalities certain parts that are very, very good, well-defined, that are worthwhile, necessary, but they don't have the other parts developed yet, and if they don't be careful, they could go too far into a world of egotism and conceit?
That's a that's a big question, Steve. So 35 years ago, actually in 1979, I realized at that time that life can be very short, and I lost 2 friends in terrorist attack that day, and 9 others were wounded. And for a very long time, I blamed myself because, the ego piece of it. I felt guilty because I should have been on the bus and not them, and it was an extreme spiral of my life, and it went on until 1993, and I suffered from PTSD, and I'm actually working it pretty good now. Now that I've studied a lot about the brain and about the mind, there's certain things that I can literally just shut off and shut out. But what happened in 1993 was I sat on the edge of my bed and basically had a choice to make. I was either going to have to make some changes and be very intentional about those changes, or I was going to end my life. And I decided, excuse me, to, excuse me, just a second. I decided to get some help and change my life. And, had a drinking problem that required medication to stop drinking. Haven't drank since 1993. And I had to change my whole outlook about things. Now, that doesn't mean that I didn't remain being a very angry, tough guy. And I did for a long time and had to work at that. And when you go to levels like myself and several of my very close friends, it's hard sometimes to turn back that mentality that you never give in, never give up, never surrender type mentality, because it doesn't just happen in the military. When you get out and you're in the civilian world, that follows you. And sometimes that can be very detrimental. It was very detrimental to me. I never lost my job. I never failed on my job. I never was DUI'd. None of that. I was very successful in continuing to function. The problem was in my mind, I was going down, and I was going down fast. But in 1993, when I finally got some help, and several years later, I started to realize that, I controlled everything that was going on in my head, just like everybody else. And if I can control it, that means I can say what goes on and what doesn't go on in my head. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of practice. And, it takes a lot to walk away from something that you would have engaged in prior to changing your thought process. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. Do you want to keep going, or you want me to pick up on it?
Yeah, you can pick up on it. It's sometimes it's hard to talk about still, and what I would say to young people and older people out there, it's a difficult process. Life is not necessarily meant to be easy, and if you think it's easy, then you're not living. It's that simple. I mean, if you think life is easy, you aren't living, baby, because there's nothing easy to live in. I've been challenged all along. I went into the military to be a Navy SEAL. I got disqualified because of injuries. I lost friends in terrorist attacks and suffered from that. I got out. I went to work in a chemical plant. I was burned 40% of my body, spent time in a burn unit for a couple of weeks, and still suffer with the scarring and what have you. But that did not stop me. And that's what I'm trying to get this point across to people in the things that I do. Those things should not stop you. They should be learning experiences, but they shouldn't stop you in your tracks. And those things do stop people in their tracks. They use it as their excuse, the weather excuse. It's like, man, it's just too hard to go on. I can't do this. I'm going to take, welfare. I'll take WIC. I'll do this. I'll do that. But I'm not working anymore. You're just copping out. That's it.
I want to bring the listeners in for a minute here to let them understand something that's been happening for the last 10 or 15 minutes. People that have achieved greatness, that have gone through incredible hardships, they do not talk about their hardships as if they need a handout or they need mercy from someone, unless they're asked to explain it to help others. That's kind of a fundamental that I've seen with the great people that are out there. I listened to an interview the other day with Jim Stovall and Tom Too Tall Cunningham, and you'll have to check those guys out if you don't already know them. I'm not going to go too far into that right now, but they talked about that. They had some incredible hardships in their lives, but they don't see them as hardships. They see them as a chance to develop some of their other parts that they can move forward with. They have advantages to these things, and if you learn to look at your life like that, then you can make more out of your life than what you thought you ever could if you're going to just stop and get into the pity party. But one of the answers to the questions that I've been probing for a long time, and I've asked Jeff today, and he's pretty much answered it, but it might not be clear to some of us. Those that are going through hardships, and you've just heard Jeff share a little bit about some of his lifelong hardships, they face it every single day. They don't expect that it's going to go away just because they want it to go away. We have to deal with things. We have to accept things. And the reason that people like Jeff are on shows like this is because they will inspire you if you take the time to look at yourself in the same way that men like Jeff look at themselves. To this acceptance that I'm talking about, to where you can't cry about it, you just got to move on with it. To lighten it up a little bit, which is necessary sometimes.
Thank you.
Jeff was in the military. Yeah, I'll come out of that. So the song, Love Lift Us Up Where We Belong, Jennifer Warnes and Joe Cocker. What a song for all of you that have never seen Officer and a Gentleman, Richard Gere, Deborah Winger. The lyrics go like this. Who knows what tomorrow brings? In a world few hearts survive. All I know is the way I feel. When it's real, I keep it alive. The road is long. There are mountains in our way, but we climb a step every day. Love lift us up where we belong, where the eagles cry on a mountain high. Love lift us up where we belong, far from the world below, up where the clear winds blow. Some hang on to used to be, live their lives looking behind. All we have is here and now, all our lives out there to find. There's more to the song. So I encourage everyone listening to take a moment to Google that song and listen to it. Joe Cocker is one of my all-time favorites. But these lyrics, there's a message in these lyrics. And what I'm here to tell you is, if we got another 10 minutes, but what I'm here to tell you is that people like Jeff, and if some of you think I'm kissing up to Jeff, I'm not. I'm showing my appreciation to a friend.
You better not be.
And no, I'm not kissing up to you. And the point is this. People do not know how to take a compliment sometimes. I live in a world where if I recognize something, I want to talk about it. I want to share it. I want to build people up. But here's the thing. The best that people that have a story, Jeff has a story. He has many stories. His stories go deep, is the example that he sets. And that's where I want to transition this now. I think I've brought Jeff onto the show and shared him with you all the way I said I was. Jeff has done many things with his life. He's got the Talk Network Radio. He's got a production company called Meet Fish Productions. He's got a Connect 10 magazine that's out there. Is it talknetworkradio.com, Jeff? Is that correct? Okay. Please do.
That song that you gave is actually it brought a memory back. You know, I was out in Spokane, Washington, and I was giving a talk out there, and there was a young man in there that had lost both of his arms from the elbow down in a combine accident, and I noticed he had come in late, and he was sitting at the back. He was rather distraught, but gave my talk and what have you. About 2 months later, I was at a place called Pocatello, and I noticed this young man was sitting in the back of the room. So after the talk, I went back there and I said, "Hey, you know, I think I'm good, but I'm not that good that you need to come back and you know, hear it a second time." And he says, "No, you don't understand. Okay. You don't understand. When I came in Spokane, I had come to Spokane, to end my life. And when I heard what you had to say, I decided it wasn't what I needed to do. And, I've gone and I've got myself some help, and I just wanted to come and say thank you to you." And, you know, those are the kind of things that your life stories can do in helping people. And I just wanted to bring that point. That song brought it to my head.
Oh, I'm glad I could do that. So the answer to what I'm trying to find for myself is the people that you come across that inspire you, learn more from them, look at the example they've set with their lives, and try to go in that direction yourself, because there's no reason why you can't. I want to share this with you. We've got little less than 5 minutes left, Jeff, just so we know. Usually I worry about my time frame, but I'll bet you if I go a little bit over time today, my producer's going to allow it, especially since we're talking about him. I'm just kidding. We'll stick to the time frame. I want to come back to something here, and that is Jeff has got a new internet site that I joined last night. Jeff, I checked out I Think Different. And so if you differently, you know, if you'll give them the website real quick, then I'll talk about it, please.